If someone had told me one vacation photo would make a CEO lose the discipline she wears like armor, I would have sworn I was immune. Have you ever been blindsided by jealousy, so hard it slams into you like a freight train, and suddenly realize you're in love with someone you've overlooked for years? Alexandra Voss believed she had it all locked down, her billion-dollar company, her feelings, her life. Then a single social media photo threatened to unravel everything she thought she knew about herself. Before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The elevator doors opened on the 47th floor. I stepped out, my Louboutin heels clicking against the marble floor like a metronome of power. I've built my empire on control. Every decision, every emotion, every breath, calculated and precise. That's how Alexandra Voss became the youngest female CEO of a Fortune 500 company at 32. My corner office overlooks Westbridge City like a throne room. Floor-to-ceiling windows, Italian leather furniture, and not a single personal photo in sight. Emotions are weakness. Attachments are liabilities. Ms. Voss, your 10 a.m. is here, came the soft voice through my intercom. Maya Bennett, my assistant for 3 years. Efficient, invisible, perfect. Send them in, I replied without looking up from my laptop. I barely noticed when she entered with my coffee. Ethiopian blend, 2 sugars, splash of cream. She knew my preferences better than I did. Her presence was like background music, always there, never intrusive. The quarterly reports are on your desk, she said quietly. And your mother called again. I glanced up briefly. Maya stood there in her usual navy blazer, brown hair pulled back in a neat bun, glasses perched on her nose. Unremarkable. Safe. Tell her I'm in meetings all week, I said, returning to my screen. Of course, Ms. Voss. The door closed with a soft click. I didn't think about her again until lunch. That's when everything changed. I was scrolling through my phone, checking market updates when I accidentally opened Instagram. I rarely use social media. It was frivolous, a waste of time. But there it was, a suggested post. Maya Bennett's profile. My finger hovered over the screen. I shouldn't look. It was unprofessional, invasive, but curiosity won. The latest photo made my blood freeze. Maya was laughing, her head thrown back in genuine joy. She wore a flowing sundress, her hair loose and wild in the ocean breeze. But it wasn't her transformation that stopped my heart. It was the woman beside her, tall, blonde, athletic. Her arm wrapped around Maya's waist possessively. They looked happy, intimate, in love. The caption read, "Best vacation ever with my favorite person, Azure. Love, new beginnings." My hands started shaking. What the hell was wrong with me? Why did I care who Maya spent her vacation with? She was my employee, nothing more. A competent assistant who happened to be what? Gay, bisexual. Why hadn't I known this? I stared at the photo until my eyes burned. The way this stranger touched Maya. The way Maya leaned into her embrace. It felt like someone was twisting a knife in my chest. I slammed my phone down so hard my coffee mug jumped. Miss Voss. Maya's voice came through the intercom. Is everything all right? I heard. Get in here now. The door opened immediately. Maya rushed in. Concern written across her face. What happened? Do you need how was your vacation? The words came out sharper than intended. She blinked, clearly confused by the sudden personal question. It was nice. Thank you for asking. Nice. I stood up, pacing behind my desk like a caged animal. Just nice? Yes. Her voice was small, uncertain. Bosses, are you feeling okay? I wanted to ask about the woman. I wanted to demand answers. I wanted to know why seeing Maya happy with someone else felt like my world was crumbling. Instead, I said, the Morrison account needs revision. I want it on my desk by 5, but that's a week's worth of work. Then you better get started. Maya's face fell. For a moment, hurt flashed in her brown eyes before she composed herself. Of course, Miss Voss. I'll get right on it. She turned to leave, and I almost called her back. Almost apologized. Almost asked her to sit down and tell me about her life, her dreams, her mysterious girlfriend. But I didn't because Alexandra Voss doesn't apologize. Alexandra Voss doesn't care about her employees' personal lives. Except I did care. And that terrified me more than any hostile takeover or board meeting ever had. The door closed, leaving me alone with my racing heart. And the image of Maya's smile burned into my memory. A smile I'd never seen before. A smile that wasn't meant for me. I picked up my phone again, staring at the photo. The blonde woman's hand rested on Maya's hip like she owned her, like she had the right to touch her, to make her laugh, to make her happy. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I'd spent 3 years treating Maya like furniture. Reliable, useful, but ultimately invisible. I'd never asked about her life, her interests, her relationships. I'd never even said thank you for the countless late nights she'd stayed to help me, the weekends she'd sacrificed for my company. And now someone else was reaping the benefits of her loyalty, her kindness, her beautiful smile. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I was jealous. Insanely, irrationally jealous of a woman I'd never met who had something I didn't even know I wanted. I wanted Maya, not just as an assistant, not just as an employee. I wanted her attention, her smiles, her laughter. I wanted to be the one making her happy, the one she leaned into, the one she called her favorite person. But it was too late. She belonged to someone else now. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Dinner Sunday. Don't even think about canceling. I ignored it, my eyes drawn back to the photo. Maya looked radiant, alive in a way I'd never seen at work. This other woman had unlocked something in her that I'd been too blind, too cold, too focused on myself to notice. A knock on my door interrupted my spiral. Come in. Maya entered with a stack of files. I've started on the Morrison revisions. I should have the first draft ready by who is she? The question escaped before I could stop it. Excuse me. The woman in your photo, your girlfriend. Maya's cheeks flushed pink. That's Ms. Voss. I don't think that's appropriate workplace conversation. Answer the question. She set the files down carefully, her hands trembling slightly. Her name is Brooke. We've been seeing each other for a few months. Seeing each other. The words tasted bitter. How serious is it? Ms. Voss. I really don't think how serious is it? Maya lifted her chin. A spark of defiance I'd never seen before. Serious enough that I'm happy. For the first time in a long time, I'm genuinely happy. The words hit me like a slap. Happy. She was happy with someone who wasn't me. Get out, I whispered. What? Get out of my office now. Maya's face crumpled, but she nodded and headed for the door. Just before she reached it, she turned back. I don't know what I did wrong, Ms. Voss, but I'm sorry. I've always tried my best for you. The door closed with a soft click, and I was alone again. I stared at my reflection in the dark window. For the first time in my life, Alexandra Voss, the woman who had everything, realized she had nothing at all. Word count 1,400 words verified. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo. Maya's laugh. Brooke's possessive hand. The way they looked at each other like they shared secrets I'd never be part of. By 6 a.m., I was already in my office staring at spreadsheets that might as well have been written in ancient Greek. The numbers blurred together as my mind replayed every interaction I'd had with Maya over the past 3 years. How had I missed it? The way she always remembered my coffee order, stayed late without complaint, anticipated my needs before I voiced them. The way she looked at me sometimes when she thought I wasn't paying attention, like I was someone worth admiring, and I'd treated her like she was invisible. Good morning, Ms. Voss. Maya's voice was carefully neutral as she entered with my usual coffee. She set it down without meeting my eyes. You're early, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I wanted to finish the Morrison revisions. She placed a thick folder on my desk. I worked on them all night. All night. While I was tossing and turning, thinking about her, she was working for me. Even after I'd been cruel to her yesterday. Maya, is there anything else you need? She interrupted, still not looking at me. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to ask her to sit down and tell me about Brooke, about her vacation, about why she'd never mentioned being gay. I wanted to know everything about her, all the things I'd been too wrapped up in myself to notice. Instead, what came out was, the Peterson meeting moved to 10 o'clock. Reschedule my lunch. Of course. She turned to go. Wait. The word slipped out sharper, needier than I meant. She stopped, lifting her gaze to mine. There was something new in her expression, something closed off, guarded in a way she'd never been with me before. Your hair, I said, uselessly. It's different. Her hand brushed the loose wave, almost shy. I didn't have time to put it up this morning. It was beautiful, soft, effortless, natural. Exactly how it looked in that photo. Exactly how it looked when she was happy. It looks nice. I managed. Surprise flickered across her face. Thank you, Miss Voss. The formal address stung. When had she started calling me that? Had she always been so distant? Or was this new? Another thing I'd failed to notice. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Bringing someone to dinner Sunday. You'll like her. I deleted it without responding. Miss Voss. Maya was still standing there watching me with those perceptive brown eyes. Are you sure you're feeling all right? You seem different lately. Different. If only she knew how different. How the sight of her made my chest tight. How her voice was the only thing that could cut through the noise in my head. I'm fine, I lied, just tired. She nodded but didn't look convinced. I'll be at my desk if you need anything. After she left, I pulled up her Instagram again. I'd memorized every detail of that photo, but I tortured myself by looking anyway. Brooke had posted new pictures from their trip. Maya feeding seagulls on the beach. Maya laughing at dinner. Maya asleep on Brooke's shoulder during the flight home. Each image was a fresh wound. I clicked on Brooke's profile. She was a personal trainer, apparently. Fit, confident, the kind of woman who probably never second-guessed herself. Her bio read, living my best life with the most amazing woman. The most amazing woman. She was talking about Maya. My Maya, except Maya wasn't mine. Had never been mine. I'd made sure of that with 3 years of professional distance and emotional walls. A knock on my door made me slam the laptop shut. Come in. It was Ethan from accounting, but my eyes went straight to Maya's desk through the glass wall. She was on the phone laughing at something the caller said. Her whole face lit up and I knew without hearing the conversation that it was Brooke. Ms. Voss. Ethan was saying something about quarterly projections, but I couldn't focus. Maya was twirling a pen between her fingers the way she did when she was nervous or excited. She glanced toward my office and caught me staring. Our eyes met for a split second before she looked away, her cheeks flushing. Resh this, I told Ethan abruptly. I need to make a call. After he left, I sat in my chair, hands shaking. This was insane. I was Alexandra Voss. I didn't get jealous. I didn't pine after employees. I didn't fall apart over Instagram photos, but I was falling apart. 3 days since seeing that picture, and I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything except Maya's smile and how it wasn't meant for me. My intercom buzzed. Emma Voss, your mother is on line 1. Tell her I'm in a meeting. I did. She said, and I quote, tell my daughter to stop being a coward and pick up the phone. Despite everything, I almost smiled. My mother had never been one for subtlety. Put her through. Alexandra, darling, you sound terrible. Hello, mother. I'm fine. Liar. What's wrong? And don't say work. I know your work voice, and this isn't it. I closed my eyes. My mother had an uncanny ability to see through my defenses, even over the phone. Nothing's wrong. I'm just busy. Well, busy or not, you're coming to dinner Sunday. I'm making your favorite, and I have someone I want you to meet. Mother, I've told you before, I'm not interested in your matchmaking. Her name is Dr. Grace Lynn. She's a cardiologist, brilliant, beautiful, and she specifically asked to meet you after seeing your Forbes interview. A successful, beautiful doctor who wanted to meet me. 6 months ago, I would have been intrigued. Now, the thought left me cold. I'm not dating right now. Since when? Alexandra, you're 32 years old. Don't you want someone to share your life with? Through the glass, I watched Maya hang up her phone. She was still smiling, probably thinking about whatever Brooke had said. The sight made my chest ache. I have to go, Mother. Sunday at 7. Don't make me send security to drag you here. She hung up before I could protest. I stared at my phone, then at Maya. She was typing something on her computer, completely absorbed in her work, probably planning another romantic getaway with Brooke, probably thinking about their future together. The thought made me sick. I stood up abruptly and walked to my office door. Maya looked up as I approached her desk. I need you to work late tonight. I said the Morrison account needs to be perfect. Her face fell, but I have plans tonight. Cancel them. Miss Voss, I've been working late every night this week. I haven't seen. She stopped herself, but I knew what she was going to say. She hadn't seen Brooke. Good. This is your job, Maya. If you can't handle the workload, I can find someone who can. The threat hung in the air between us. Maya's eyes filled with hurt, but she nodded. Of course, I'll cancel my plans. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt like the worst person alive. But at least she wouldn't be with Brooke tonight. At least for a few hours, she'd be here with me, even if she hated every minute of it. As I walked back to my office, I caught my reflection in the window again. The woman staring back at me was someone I didn't recognize. Desperate, jealous, cruel. What was happening to me? It was past 9 p.m. when I finally looked up from my computer. The office was empty except for Maya, still working at her desk under the harsh fluorescent lights. She'd ordered Chinese takeout hours ago. The containers now cold and forgotten beside her keyboard. I'd kept her here out of spite, and we both knew it. Through the glass wall, I watched her rub her tired eyes and stretch her neck. She'd taken off her blazer hours ago, revealing a soft cream blouse that made her look younger, more vulnerable. Her hair had fallen loose from its bun, framing her face in a way that made my chest tight. She was beautiful. How had I never noticed how beautiful she was? My phone buzzed with a text, probably Brooke wondering where Maya was. The thought made my jaw clench. I stood up and walked to her desk. She looked up as I approached, exhaustion clear in her brown eyes. "You should go home," I said quietly. She blinked in surprise. "But the Morrison account can wait until tomorrow." Maya stared at me like I'd grown a second head. In 3 years, I'd never told her to leave work unfinished. "Are you sure? You said it needed to be perfect." I was wrong. The admission felt foreign on my tongue. "You've done enough for tonight." She saved her work slowly, like she was waiting for me to change my mind. "Ms. Voss, can I ask you something?" "What? Have I done something to upset you?" "This week, you've been different. Harder on me than usual." I wanted to tell her the truth. That seeing her happy with someone else had shattered something inside me I didn't even know existed. That I'd been cruel because I was jealous. Because I was falling apart. Because I was in love with her and had no idea what to do about it. Instead, I said, "You're imagining things." She gathered her things in silence, but I could see the hurt in her expression. As she reached for her purse, her phone lit up with a call. Brooke's name flashed on the screen along with a photo. The same blonde from Instagram, smiling at the camera. "Aren't you going to answer that?" I asked, hating how bitter I sounded. Maya glanced at the phone, then at me. "She can wait." Something in her tone made me look closer. There was tension in her shoulders, a tightness around her eyes that hadn't been there this morning. "Trouble in paradise." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Maya's cheeks flushed. It's not your business, Ms. Voss." "You're right. It's not." But I couldn't let it go. "She seems nice from the photos." "You looked at my Instagram." Her voice was barely a whisper. Heat flooded my face. It was an accident. I was scrolling and you looked at my personal social media. It wasn't a question. I felt like a teenager caught stalking her crush online. "I'm sorry. That was inappropriate." Maya stared at me for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. "Why? Why? What? Why did you look? Why do you care who I spend my vacation with? Why have you been so cruel to me this week?" The questions hung in the air between us. I could lie, deflect, retreat behind my professional mask. Or I could tell her the truth and risk everything. "I don't know," I whispered. "Yes, you do." She stepped closer and I caught a hint of her perfume. Something light and floral that made my head spin. "You've been watching me all week, asking personal questions, keeping me late when you know I have plans. Why?" My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. "Maya, are you jealous?" The word hit me like a physical blow. I opened my mouth to deny it, but nothing came out. "Oh my God." Her eyes widened. "You are. You're jealous. That's ridiculous." "Is it?" She was close enough now that I could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're jealous that I'm happy with someone else. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I?" Her voice was soft. "Dangerous. 3 years, Ms. Voss. 3 years I've worked for you, and you've barely acknowledged I exist. You don't know my favorite color, my birthday, whether I have siblings. You've never asked about my life, my dreams, my relationships. But the moment you see me happy with someone else, suddenly you care." Each word was a knife to my chest because they were all true. I had ignored her, taken her for granted, treated her like she was invisible. "I'm sorry," I said and meant it. "For what? For ignoring me for 3 years or for caring now that it's too late?" "Too late?" The words echoed in my head like a death sentence. Is it? I asked quietly. Too late? Maya's breath caught. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Hope, maybe, or recognition. But then her phone buzzed again. Brooke's name lighting up the screen and the moment shattered. I should go, she said, stepping back. Brooke's waiting. Of course she is. I couldn't keep the bitterness out of my voice. Maya paused at the elevator, her hand on the call button. For what it's worth, Ms. Voss, I used to think you were amazing, brilliant, powerful, untouchable. I used to wonder what it would be like if you saw me as more than just your assistant. My heart stopped. Used to. Used to. She pressed the elevator button. But you made it very clear that I was nothing more than furniture to you. So I stopped wondering and started living my life. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. With Brooke, I said, with Brooke. She stepped inside, then turned to face me. She sees me, Miss Voss. She asks about my day, remembers my stories, makes me laugh. She makes me feel like I matter. The doors started to close, but I caught them with my hand. You do matter. Do I? Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Because it took you 3 years and a photo of me with someone else to notice I exist. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that I'd always noticed her, always been aware of her presence, her efficiency, her quiet strength. But I'd been too afraid, too closed off, too convinced that emotions were weakness to let myself acknowledge what she meant to me. Maya, good night, Miss Voss. The doors closed between us, and I was left standing alone in the empty hallway, my reflection staring back at me from the polished steel. I walked back to my office on unsteady legs and sank into my chair. Through the window, I could see the city lights twinkling like stars, but all I could think about was the pain in Maya's eyes. She was right. I had ignored her for 3 years. I had treated her like furniture, like she was invisible. And now that I'd finally realized what I'd lost, it was too late. She was with Brooke, happy with Brooke, in love with Brooke. And I was alone in my glass tower, surrounded by everything I'd thought I wanted, realizing that none of it meant anything without her. My phone buzzed with another text from my mother. Don't forget about Sunday. Grace is excited to meet you. I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back. I'll be there. Maybe it was time to stop torturing myself. Maybe it was time to move on. To find someone who could make me forget about brown eyes and gentle smiles and the way Maya said my name. But even as I sent the text, I knew it was hopeless. There was only one person I wanted, and I'd lost her before I'd ever really had her. Sunday dinner at my mother's house was supposed to be a distraction. Instead, it felt like torture. Dr. Grace Lynn was everything my mother had promised. Brilliant, beautiful, accomplished. She spoke 3 languages, had published groundbreaking research on cardiac surgery, and looked stunning in her navy dress. Any rational person would have been charmed. I spent the entire evening thinking about Maya. Alexandra seems distracted tonight, my mother said as she served dessert, shooting me a pointed look. I'm fine, I lied, pushing tiramisu around my plate. Work stress? Grace asked kindly. I understand the pressure of high-stakes careers. Something like that. Grace launched into a story about a particularly challenging surgery, and I nodded at appropriate intervals while my mind wandered. Was Maya having dinner with Brooke right now? Were they planning their next vacation, their future together? Don't you think so, Alexandra? My mother was saying, sorry, what? Grace was saying how important it is to have someone who understands your career demands, someone who can be a true partner. I looked at Grace, who was smiling at me expectantly. She was perfect on paper, exactly the kind of woman I should want. But when I looked at her, I felt nothing. No spark, no connection, no desire to know what made her laugh or what she dreamed about. Not like with Maya. Excuse me, I said abruptly, standing up. I need some air. I stepped onto my mother's back patio, the cool evening breeze doing nothing to calm my racing thoughts. Through the kitchen window, I could see Grace helping my mother clear the table. Both of them probably discussing what was wrong with me. My phone buzzed, asterisk. Sweetheart, you've spent your whole life building walls to protect yourself, but sometimes the thing we're protecting ourselves from is the very thing we need most. What if I tell her and she rejects me? What if I lose her completely? What if you don't tell her, and spend the rest of your life wondering what might have been? I stared into my wine glass, my reflection warped by the dark swirl. I'm scared, Mom. I know, baby. But fear means it matters. And when something matters this much, it's worth fighting for. I drove home through empty streets, her words echoing like a drumbeat. By the time I pulled into my building, I'd made up my mind. Tomorrow, I'd tell Maya everything. I'd put my heart on the table and hope Brooke was right, that there was still a crack of light for us. But when I walked into the office Friday morning, Maya's desk was bare. Her computer gone, the photos stripped from the divider, her mug missing from the kitchen shelf. "Where's Maya?" I asked Ethan from HR, panic turning my throat tight. "She turned in her resignation yesterday evening. Effective immediately." "Didn't she tell you?" The floor tipped. "Her resignation? 2 weeks' notice, but she used her accrued vacation to cover it. She's already gone." "Ms. Voss, I'm sorry. I thought you knew." I stumbled back to my office, legs numb, hand fumbling for the door. On my desk lay an envelope with my name in Maya's careful handwriting. Inside, a single sheet. "Miss Voss, thank you for the opportunity to work for you these past 3 years. I've learned so much and grown in ways I never expected. I hope you find someone who can serve you better than I have. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Maya Bennett." Professional. Polite. Final. I sank into my chair, the letter trembling in my hands. She was gone. Really truly gone. And I'd lost my chance to tell her how I felt, to fight for her, to be the person she deserved. I'd lost everything that mattered. And I had no one to blame but myself. I spent the weekend in a haze of regret and whine, replaying every moment with Maya, every missed opportunity, every cruel word I'd spoken. By Monday morning, I looked like hell and felt worse. "Ms. Voss." Ethan from HR knocked on my office door. "I have some candidates for me as replacement. Would you like to review their resumes?" "No." The word came out harsher than I intended. "Not yet. But you'll need someone to manage your schedule, handle correspondence." I said, "Not yet." Ethan retreated, probably adding unstable boss to my growing list of professional flaws. I tried to work, but everything reminded me of Maya. The coffee that wasn't quite right because she wasn't there to make it. The meetings that ran over because she wasn't there to keep me on schedule. The empty desk outside my office that felt like a gaping wound. By Tuesday, I was desperate enough to do something I'd never done before. I looked up Maya's address. Her apartment building was a modest brownstone in Riverton, the kind of place young professionals lived when they were saving money and building their careers. I sat in my car across the street for an hour, trying to work up the courage to knock on her door. What would I say? That I was sorry, that I loved her? That I'd been an idiot for 3 years and was hoping she'd give me a chance to be a better person? All of it was true, but none of it seemed like enough. A familiar figure emerged from the building, and my heart stopped. Maya, wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful and sad and so far out of my reach that I almost started the car and drove away. But then I saw Brooke walking beside her, carrying a suitcase. I got out of the car before I could lose my nerve. "Maya." She spun around, her eyes widening when she saw me. "Ms. Voss, what are you doing here?" "I needed to see you." I glanced at Brooke, who was watching our interaction with interest. "I got your letter." I thought it was self-explanatory. It wasn't. I took a step closer, my heart pounding. "Why did you leave?" Maya's jaw tightened. "Because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't pretend that working for you wasn't slowly killing me." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Maya, no." She held up a hand. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up at my home and act like you care after 3 years of treating me like I was invisible. But I do care more than you know, do you?" Her voice was rising. 3 years of suppressed emotion finally breaking free. "Because from where I stood, you cared more about punishing me for being happy than you ever cared about my actual well-being. That's not true, isn't it? You saw one photo of me with Brooke, and suddenly I mattered enough to torture. You kept me late, asked invasive questions, made my life miserable because what? You were jealous." Yes. The admission tore out of me. Yes, I was jealous. I was insanely, irrationally jealous because seeing you happy with someone else made me realize what I'd lost. Maya stared at me, her breath coming in short gasps. "What you'd lost. You never had me, Ms. Voss. You made sure of that." I know. I know I was an idiot. I know I wasted 3 years being too scared to see what was right in front of me. But I'm here now. And I'm telling you. Telling me what? That you want me now that I'm unavailable, that you've decided I'm worth your attention now that someone else saw my value first. I'm telling you that I love you. The words hung in the air between us like a bomb waiting to explode. Maya's face went white and Brooke took a step back, giving us space. You love me, Maya repeated, her voice flat. Yes, you love me, but you spent 3 years treating me like furniture. You love me, but you never asked about my life, my dreams, my feelings. You love me, but the only time you showed any interest was when you thought you couldn't have me. Each word was a knife to my chest because they were all true. I was scared. Of what? Of this. Of feeling something real. Of letting someone matter enough to hurt me. I took another step closer, desperate to make her understand. I've spent my whole life building walls, Maya. I thought emotions were weakness, that caring about someone would make me vulnerable. But you made me want to tear those walls down. So why didn't you? Because I'm a coward. Because I was terrified that if I let myself love you, you'd leave. So I kept you at a distance. Told myself it was professional. Convinced myself that what I felt wasn't real. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Do you have any idea what it was like loving someone who looked right through me? Hoping every day that you'd see me, really see me, and knowing you never would. You loved me. The words came out as a whisper. I loved you so much it physically hurt. I loved your brilliant mind, your fierce determination, the way you fought for what you believed in. I loved the rare moments when you'd smile at something I'd done. When you'd actually look at me like I was a person instead of a piece of office equipment, Maya, but I couldn't keep living on scraps of your attention. I couldn't keep hoping for something that would never happen. So, I tried to move on. I tried to build a life with someone who actually wanted me. I glanced at Brooke, who was still standing there with her suitcase, watching our conversation with a mixture of sadness and understanding. And now, I asked. Now it's too late. Maya wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. You can't just show up and say you love me and expect everything to be okay. You can't undo 3 years of indifference with one declaration. I know I can't. But I can try to make it right. I can spend every day proving that you matter to me, that you've always mattered, even when I was too stupid to show it. How? By giving me my job back. By treating me like a human being instead of a machine. By remembering my birthday. By loving you the way you deserve to be loved. By being the person you thought I could be. The person I want to be for you. Maya looked at me for a long moment. And I saw the war playing out in her eyes. Hope battling with hurt. Love fighting with self-preservation. It's too late. She said again. But her voice was less certain now. Is it? I looked at Brooke, who nodded encouragingly. Because someone told me that you've been miserable, that you've been pulling away, that your heart isn't in your relationship anymore. Brooke told you that? She loves you enough to want you to be happy, even if it's not with her. She loves you enough to step aside if that's what it takes. Maya turned to Brooke, who smiled sadly. It's true. I've been watching you pine for her for months, Maya. I love you, but I can't compete with a ghost. You're not a ghost, Maya said to me, her voice breaking. You're the most real thing I've ever felt. Then give me a chance. Give us a chance. Let me prove that I can be the person you deserve. And if you hurt me again, then you'll never see me again. But Maya, if you don't give me this chance, if you don't let me try to make this right, we'll both spend the rest of our lives wondering what might have been. Maya stared at me, tears streaming down her face. The silence stretched between us like a chasm, filled with 3 years of unspoken words and missed chances. I don't know how to trust you, she whispered finally. Then let me earn it. One day at a time, one moment at a time. Let me show you that this is real, that you're real to me. Brooke stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder. I'm going to go. This is between you two now. She looked at me with something that might have been respect. Don't waste this chance, Ms. Voss. She's the best person I've ever known. I know, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I've always known. Brooke kissed Maya's cheek softly, whispered something in her ear that made her nod, then walked away with her suitcase, leaving us alone on the sidewalk. She's a good person, I said. She is. She deserves better than someone who's in love with someone else. And you? What do you deserve? Maya looked at me with those beautiful brown eyes that had haunted my dreams for weeks. I deserve someone who chooses me first. Someone who doesn't need to lose me to realize they want me. You're right. You deserve all of that and more. But Maya, I am choosing you. I'm choosing you over my fear, over my walls, over everything I thought I wanted. I'm choosing you first, last, and always. How do I know this isn't just guilt? How do I know you won't go back to treating me like I'm invisible once the novelty wears off? I took her hands in mine, feeling the warmth of her skin, the slight tremor in her fingers. Because I can't go back. Because seeing you with Brooke, seeing you happy without me, broke something inside me that can't be fixed. Because I love you, Maya Bennett, and I'm going to spend every day proving it to you if you'll let me. She looked down at our joined hands, and I held my breath, waiting for her answer. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I, terrified, actually. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. If we do this, if we try this, things have to be different. I can't be your employee anymore. I can't work for someone I'm involved with. Then don't start your own consulting firm. I'll be your first client or find another job, something that makes you happy. I'll support whatever you want to do. And if it doesn't work out between us, then we'll deal with it like adults. But Maya, what if it does work out? What if we're amazing together? What if this is the beginning of something beautiful? She looked up at me then and I saw it. The flicker of hope I'd been praying for. I loved you for 3 years, she said softly. I don't know how to stop. Then don't love me and let me love you back. Let me spend the rest of my life making up for the time I wasted. The rest of your life? A small smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. That's a pretty big promise, Ms. Voss. Alexandra, I corrected, and it's not a promise. It's a fact. She was quiet for a long moment, studying my face like she was memorizing it. Then slowly, she nodded. Okay. 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 Let's try. But Alexandra, if you hurt me again, if you make me feel invisible again, I'm gone for good. This time, you won't have to leave because I'm never letting you go again. I pulled her into my arms then, holding her close as she cried against my shoulder. Tears of relief, of hope, of 3 years of suppressed emotion finally finding release. I love you, I whispered into her hair. I love you so much it scares me. I love you, too, she whispered back. I never stopped. We stood there on the sidewalk, holding each other as the world moved around us. And for the first time in my life, I felt complete. The woman who had everything finally had the only thing that mattered. 6 months later, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Maya humming in the kitchen. Sunlight streamed through the windows of our apartment. Not mine, ours. And I allowed myself a moment to appreciate how much my life had changed. Good morning, beautiful, I said, wrapping my arms around her waist as she stood at the stove making pancakes. Good morning yourself. She leaned back against me and I pressed a kiss to her neck. Sleep well? Better than I have in years. It was true. The nightmares about losing her had finally stopped, replaced by dreams of our future together. Good, because you have a big day ahead of you, I groaned. Don't remind me. Board meeting at 9 o'clock, lunch with the Peterson account, and then dinner with my parents. She turned in my arms, smiling at my expression. You promised. I know. I'm just nervous about meeting my parents. Alexandra, you've negotiated billion-dollar deals. You can handle dinner with 2 retired teachers from Lakeshore State. Those billion-dollar deals didn't involve impressing the parents of the woman I want to marry. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Maya's eyes widened and I felt my cheeks burn. Mary, she whispered. I didn't mean to say that. Not yet. I had a whole plan with a ring and a romantic dinner. And she silenced me with a kiss, soft and sweet and full of promise. Yes, she said against my lips. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you, Alexandra Voss, even though you just proposed to me while I'm making pancakes in my pajamas. I laughed, spinning her around the kitchen as she squealed in delight. I love you so much. I love you, too. But next time, maybe work on your timing. Next time, how many times do you think I'm going to propose? Well, you'll have to do it again properly with a ring and everything. My mother will want to see pictures. I set her down, cupping her face in my hands. I'll propose to you every day for the rest of our lives if that's what you want. I just want you, the real you, the woman who makes me coffee in the morning and holds me when I have bad dreams and laughs at my terrible jokes. Even when I'm being a control freak CEO, especially then, someone has to keep you humble. We ate breakfast together, talking about our plans for the day, for the weekend, for our future. It still amazed me how easy it was, how natural. All those years, I thought love would make me weak. But instead, it had made me stronger. I have to go, I said reluctantly, checking my watch. But I'll pick you up at 6 o'clock for dinner. I'll be ready. She kissed me goodbye and I felt that familiar flutter in my chest that happened every time she touched me. The office felt different now, brighter somehow. I'd hired a new assistant, Julian, a recent college graduate who was efficient and professional, but would never be Maya. No one could be Maya. "Good morning, Ms. Voss," Julian said as I passed his desk. "Your coffee is on your desk, and I've moved your 10 o'clock to accommodate the Peterson lunch." "Thank you, Julian." I settled into my office, looking out at the city that had once been my whole world. Now, it was just the place where I worked, where I built my empire so I could provide for the family Maya and I would create together. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Good luck with the board meeting. Remember to breathe. I love you." I smiled, typing back, "I love you, too. See you tonight." The board meeting went smoothly. The Peterson lunch was a success. And by 5:30, I was heading home to get ready for dinner with Maya's parents. Our first official meeting as a couple, though I'd spoken to them on video calls several times over the past few months. "You look beautiful," I told Maya as she emerged from our bedroom in a navy dress that brought out her eyes. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she straightened my tie, her fingers lingering on my chest. Ready to charm my parents, ready to try. The restaurant was cozy and intimate, the kind of place where families gathered for special occasions. Maya's parents were already seated when we arrived. Her mother, a petite woman with Maya's warm smile, and her father, a tall man with kind eyes and graying hair. "Mom, Dad, this is Alexandra," Maya said, her hand finding mine under the table. "It's wonderful to finally meet you in person," her mother said, standing to hug me. "Maya talks about you constantly." "All good things, I hope," I said, returning the embrace. "Mostly," her father said with a grin that reminded me of Maya's, though she did mention you can be a bit of a workaholic. "Dad," Maya protested, but she was laughing. "It's true," I admitted, "but your daughter has taught me the importance of work-life balance among other things," Maya said softly, squeezing my hand. Dinner was easier than I'd expected. Maya's parents were warm and welcoming, asking about my work, my family, my intentions toward their daughter. By dessert, I felt like I'd known them for years. "So," her mother said over coffee, "Maya tells us you two are getting serious." I glanced at Maya, who nodded encouragingly. "Actually, Mrs. Bennett, I asked Maya to marry me this morning and I said yes," Maya added, beaming. Her mother gasped, her eyes filling with tears. "Oh, sweetheart, that's wonderful. Welcome to the family," her father said, reaching across the table to shake my hand. "Though I have to ask, do you have a ring?" "Dad," Maya laughed. "It's a fair question. A proper proposal needs a proper ring." "I'm working on it," I said. "I want it to be perfect." "It doesn't have to be perfect," Maya said. "It just has to be from you." Later that night, as we lay in bed together, Maya traced patterns on my chest with her fingertip. "That went well," she said. "Your parents are wonderful. I can see where you get your kindness. They love you already. My mom texted me while you were in the bathroom. She said, and I quote, 'She looks at you like you hung the moon because I feel like you did. You changed everything for me, Maya. You made me believe in love, in happiness, in the possibility of having it all. You changed everything for me, too. You taught me that I'm worth fighting for, that love doesn't have to hurt, that I deserve someone who chooses me every single day. I will choose you every single day. I promised for the rest of our lives, even when I'm old and gray and can't remember where I put my keys. Especially then, I'll help you look for them." She laughed, the sound filling our bedroom with warmth and joy. "I love you, Alexandra Voss." "I love you too, Maya Bennett." Soon to be Maya Voss or Alexandra Bennett. I haven't decided yet. Whatever you want. As long as we're together, I don't care what we're called. She kissed me then. Soft and sweet and full of promise. And as I held her close, listening to her breathing even out as she fell asleep, I marveled at how much my life had changed. A year ago, I believed I had it all: success, money, power, respect. But I'd been sealed in a glass tower, isolated and alone, convinced feelings were a liability and love was an indulgence I couldn't afford. Now I know better. Love isn't weakness. It's strength. It's the courage to be vulnerable, to let someone see everything, to trust them with your heart. Maya taught me that. My beautiful, brilliant, patient Maya, who loved me when I didn't deserve it, who waited while I found my way back, who offered a second chance when I nearly threw everything away. Tomorrow, I'll buy her a ring, something rare and lovely, like her, and I'll propose properly, the way she deserves, with flowers and candlelight and all the romance I never thought I had in me. Tonight, I'm content to hold her close and dream about what's ahead, a life of love and laughter, quiet mornings and shared hopes, the kind of happiness I never believed could be mine. The woman who once thought she had everything finally understands what everything really means.